It did clear up. We've got some blue skies. An interesting thing in the way these lava caves are formed. Beautiful fish. That's the first one of the day. It's actually the highest lake in all of Idaho. And it's just dropping off on both sides of you. Man, look at all the meat I'm taking home there. You guys have a good time?
Yeah!
Well, Nathan, good job. Thanks for calling that in for me, man. It's time for another episode of Jared Scott Outdoors. This week on Jared Scott Outdoors, we're showing off a fun place to bring your family. Now, I'm up here at Eagle Ridge Ranch. If you happen to get the latest issue of Getting Out, we highlighted this ranch. And when I came up here, I was determined to bring my family up here because it looked like so much fun. So here we are. Kids are already out here playing on one of their lakes right now. They're having a ball. So we're going to show you all about it and just show you a great place here in Idaho, up in Island Park, to bring your own family. This week's adventure at the Eagle Ridge Ranch is brought to you in part by Jim Williams at the Idaho Falls Miracler Center. If given the chance, thank him for helping to make this show possible. We arrived at the Eagle Ridge Ranch in Island Park in the heat of the day, so the possibility to cool off with some swimming seemed like the perfect idea. My kids excitedly ran to the pond and each grabbed one of the supplied life jackets. As soon as they made it to the water, the shoreline came alive with movement. There were hundreds, well actually thousands of little frogs trying to escape the kids' reach as they hopped back into the pond. As you can imagine, the kids were having a ball as they caught tons of these little critters. They were amazingly small. As you can see, the baby frogs were about as big as their fingertips. There were some adult frogs as well, which eventually became the new target.
Oh no!
After a while, the kids decided it was time to play in the water. There were canoes, pedal boats, and a regular oar boat for the kids to explore on. Some were just checking out the lake, others were following some baby ducks, while Nathan brought along his snorkeling gear and cruised around that way. Eventually, most of them decided to get in the water. Abby just flipped off the pedal boat, while some of the other kids used the boat dock that made a perfect jumping platform. We found that we weren't the only ones to take advantage of the cool water. The horses that had just wrapped up giving horse rides that day were turned loose and they came straight to the water for a drink. Of course, my family loved to see them as they all fed on past us towards the area they'd be pastured in. A few minutes later, the last group that had gone out for a horse ride materialized out of the trees and passed us on the far side of the pond. All the horse activity only served to get my kids excited for the horse ride that we were planning the next day. Now it's time to do some archery shooting, and believe it or not, they've actually got a 3D course with all these targets. There's about 30 of these set up. Now this is actually a fairly unique kind of a thing because these are very expensive targets. They've got 30 of these spread throughout the trees up here in the forest, and we're going to take the kids out and just have a ball and go do some shooting. We brought some of our own bows, but my younger kids used a few of the many bows they have here for the guests to use. They're mission bows that can be used by all ages as they have no specific draw length. This works great for kids or novice shooters. After shooting each target, you just follow the pink flagging through the woods until you get to the next stake in front of another one. Nathan and Aubrey were both excited to shoot the targets as the deer and elk archery seasons are just around the corner. Candace was even able to get in on the action and pull out her bow, as target shooting is actually one of those activities families can do together very well.
Did Abby get it in the middle?
Even 4-year-old Cade wasn't about to be left out of the action, as he used our recurve bow to make his best shots.
Yeah!
This time our target's a turkey. That's probably about 25 yards.
Cade, what is this one?
T-Rex.
We've got a raptor dinosaur at 40 yards. Little back. We've got a black bear at 30.
I saw white in the lake, Dad.
Good job, bud.
We have a wolf at 30. We got a ram about 30 yards away.
Of course, there were lots of other targets like this huge buck and a mountain lion, a 6-point elk, a caribou, a giant carp and a cobra, an alligator, javelina, and coyote, as well as an African deer and a bobcat. The antelope along the lake shore wraps it up. For those that want to shoot a little, but not do the full course, there's also a range with several targets and a large straw backstop. Of course, it's the impressive full-sized Reinhardt targets that are the favorites to shoot at. Well, not only are these a lot of fun just to shoot, the kids have been having a great time doing it, but as you can imagine, this is actually really good practice for as close as you can get to more of a real scenario when you're out hunting, because you've got trees, you've got brush, you've got things in the way, and then it's also something that looks, the right proportions and whatnot. So this really is beneficial. So if you guys want to come up here and you want to just do something like this before the hunt, just to make sure you're on and you're ready, by all means come up here. This isn't just for people that are camping and riding horses and stuff. You can just come up here, you can buy an annual membership, or you can just come up here for the day and shoot their 30 Reinhardt targets that are spread out here in the hills. So, just another great opportunity. It's time for the outdoor tip of the week, brought to you by Element Outfitters. They've officially gone online to allow our viewers outside of Pocatello the ability to order all your gear right from home. Well, this has got to be the biggest mosquito I've ever seen here. Now with these Reinhardt targets, they're actually pretty tough when you stick an arrow into them in a high-powered bow to pull them out. So for our Element Outfitter tip this week, I want to talk about a nice little trick to be able to do this. And what you do is you just take a bar of ivory soap, rub it on your arrows that you're going to be using, when you come to these 3D shoots, and then shoot them. And it takes a couple times to actually get it to where it works well, but it does make it where you can pull these out much easier, just because these arrows, they stick in there really well. These targets are well made, and it can be really tough to pull these out. So kind of a fun tip: if you go to one of these 3D shoots, grab some soap, work your arrows that way, and they're much easier to pull out. It's time now for Camping Out, brought to you by OK Trailer Sales. Slow down, take some time, and enjoy the journey of life with OK Trailer and Shelley. This week's OK Trailer Campground of the Week is the group campsite at Eagle Ridge Ranch. If you're looking to book a family reunion, scout, or church site for a large group, this is the perfect place. The campground is set back in the pines about a quarter mile from the cabins and lakes, giving it lots of privacy. There's lots of grass for tents, as well as a big gravel area for the RVs, and includes power. A nice pavilion and lots of picnic tables are on site as well. One improvement over most other campgrounds is that there are both women's and men's bathrooms with showers in each. A volleyball net in one of the grassy areas is always up, and a large fire pit with lots of room to sit and chat help to make this a fun area to camp. Of course, those that camp here can have full access to the frog pond and fish pond at the ranch as well. At only $125 a night, this can't be beat for a group campsite. Well, our kids had a great time at the frog pond, as they call it, and now we're actually at the fish pond right now, and it's it looks like, about 50 acres or so, a fairly good-sized pond. But Nathan really wanted to come do some fishing here. We woke up early. It's before sunrise right now, and we're out on here. It's just a nice crystal kind of glass right now, so we're waiting for the fish to start hitting the top. We're going to hit them with some flies. We got out here right at first light, which was apparently before the trout were hitting the bugs on top as well. So Nathan threw out a spinner and quickly nailed one.
I've been doing a spinner. Caught mine. I think my 6th cast. Fat. These fish up here, in a pond you wouldn't think they get this big, but they are awesome. They give up a good fight, and they're really fun to catch.
All right, lost my first one. It broke a fly off. Got another one of these big old fighters on. Holy cow, these are something else. This time I had a woolly bugger trailed by a prince nymph. Man, it was the prince nymph they took last time and snapped me, and this one took my woolly bugger. It's kind of like hunting out here. There's not a lot of them, it appears. So you find where they're feeding and kind of slip over there and start working the fly. There he is. Man, you know they're a good fish when just after a minute of fighting, your arm's already tired. Alright, see if we can't land this guy. Alright, so this is actually on the smaller end of what we've seen here as he dove off into the water. So, man, the fight though is just incredible. So just a little black woolly bugger. Looks like my trailer broke off in the fight there. But man, those are something else. We'll see if we can't pull a few more of those in. It didn't take too long, and I had another taker. Another one on the woolly bugger there. Just like before, it's kind of a hunting game. Kind of find where they're out there slurping, kind of sneak in there and drop a fly, and sure enough, wham! He came out of the water right after I set the hook at least a foot. Just awesome fighting here. I was hoping to bring him up to show you, but they just inhaled this thing. You know, fishing with a fly, usually hook them in the corner. That was actually down just a little bit. They're just swallowing them and then fighting like crazy. So this is really cool. You can hear the horses are out there for the horse rides. They just live on the ranch. They're all over. They're around the cabins, and then in the mornings they'll round them up and take them back down. But it's just a cool setting out here. Well, we put our bows away, and that's because it's time for our horse ride. Now, this is actually the part of the trip up here my kids have been looking forward to the most, and especially my two daughters here. They love horses, and they are really excited to go on a horse ride. There were a fair amount of people at the Eagle Ridge Ranch for horse rides on the day we chose to ride as well. The first thing that everyone gets is a quick lesson on how to handle the horses so they can have a safe and enjoyable ride. After that, everyone was divided into groups that would all go on different trails to keep the group small. Each rider was individually fit to a horse, and the saddles were adjusted to their needs. While the other riders were getting situated, my kids enjoyed spending time putting on the chaps and trying their hand at roping. Tom even gave a few of the kids some one-on-one instruction. Just to add to the experience, my kids were able to watch as a local farrier replace shoes on one of the horses.
Ever since my dad told us we were coming up here, I've been looking forward to the horse ride the most.
One at a time, they fit all those in my family to a horse and made sure the stirrups were set right. With everyone ready, we were off, with our guide for the trip, Porter, leading the way. We were doing their 2-hour family ride. Their other rides are 3 hours. If you like, however, you can arrange to do even longer rides that really get you up into the high country. I think Cade was the cutest on this trip as he seemed to have one of the biggest horses. His legs barely made it out past the saddle. I'll tell you what though, he was in heaven and having the time of his life. 7-year-old Abby was also all giggles every time her horse would go to a trot trying to catch up with the others.
It's awesome.
We worked up a little deeper into the hills and then turned and started working out on a different route back to the ranch.
We're about halfway through the ride and we're all having fun.
The length of the ride was just perfect for the kids, as by the time we got back, they were thirsty and ready to eat something. However, I think my oldest daughter Aubrey could have gone on all day. Well, we're back and they're actually getting another group ready to go, but we had a good time. Aubrey, what'd you think of it?
It was amazing.
You know, if you got horses, this isn't going to be that big of a deal for you. But for those that don't have horses, especially like my kids, they really ate it up. You know, Cade, he's 3, he's 4. Abby, who's 7, they got to ride horses by themselves. They just thought that was the coolest thing ever. And, you know, so to put some kids on some really well-behaved animals and go up and have a 2 or 3 hour horse ride, you know, it's perfect for these guys. So if this is something that interests you, for $50 a piece, you can come up here and just show your kids and a family a great time.
Hey, I'm Porter out here at Eagle Ridge. If you want to come out and enjoy a ride with us like Jared did with his family today, just give us a ring and we'll hook you up with a ride. Well, this is the end of our 3-day stay up here at Eagle Ridge Ranch, and I'll tell you what, my family had a great time. I think this is the 4th time that we're back down to the frog pond, and you know, again, they're catching more frogs. We got to ride the horses, we were out to the shooting range a couple different times, and then we just stayed in a beautiful cabin. So, you know, it really was a great family vacation, and my family's going to be itching to come back up here again. So, you know, of all the things that you get up here, I highly recommend checking this place out. Get online, eagleridgeranch.com, and check it out, because, you know, when you come here, just if you come up here and ride the horses for a day, you can come down here and play at the pond. You can go up and you can shoot archery. You know, they got all kinds of different things. So even if it's just a 1-day thing, just come up here in the morning, come up here early though, because there's a lot of things you're going to want to do. And then you can head back home at night, you know, if you're just looking for a 1-day retreat. If you want to do something that's a little bit more significant like we did, this is the place to come. Jared Scott Outdoors was brought to you by Camp Chef, the Idaho Falls and Pocatello Miracle Air Centers, Phil Meters Courtesy Ford, OK Trailer Sales in Shelley, and Stone Ridge Dental. Please remember to support our sponsors as they make this show possible. Tune in next week at the same time for another episode of Jared Scott Outdoors.